morning in the park. I find it so beautiful and soothing listening to the ducks waking up and the sound of water and the light breeze, the falling leaves, occasional bark of a dog. So I thought I'd try to come down here and film some of this to share with people who may not have access to either of these things today. Even if you don't have a visual, you may still find helpful listening to the sounds and just letting your mind drift off into the place where these sounds are taking place, and that in itself will help alleviate any sense of worry, anxiety, even just when you're tired, just relaxing the mind and letting go of day-to-day concerns helps clear any negative thoughts, negative emotions, and suddenly we feel lighter and more peaceful in our hearts. And a peaceful heart is a grateful heart, and a grateful heart is a happy heart. It's very important for our soul to feel at peace. Feeling at peace is something we take for granted very often. And there are so many things we can do to find the happiness and the peace within. And it costs nothing. In today's world, we're very concerned about where we make our living, how we make our living, where the money is going to come from. And especially in the pandemic, many found that their circumstances have changed. But there are things we can do which cost nothing, which cost very little. And they are priceless. Nature is priceless. Nature is what holds all the answers and gives us the answers to what to do next, how to solve a pending issue. Just take a time and sit in the nature and let it speak to you. Let the ducks take over for a bit. Let go of control, just for a bit. Listen to the ducks. And then suddenly you will come to a moment where instead of ducks, you're suddenly hearing your inner voice. And that is the divine connecting with you and speaking through you, giving you the answers you've been so longing to find. Not only answers, it also brings to the surface issues or emotional wounds which may leave scars or be pushed under the carpet, offenses, wrong perceptions, various things that we take for granted day to day. We don't really pay attention to them, but in reality, they pile up and they sink to the bottom of the pond or even the river. A river could be flowing at the surface, but at the bottom, the current can be almost static. So anything that falls to the bottom is likely to stay there and cause poisonous fumes, which tend to surface from time to time, and that's the venom that we don't realize we hold, which is in fact the cause of the bitterness we feel, bitterness and resentment towards others. They may not even realize we feel that way. We may not realize we feel that way towards them, towards ourselves. Therefore, it is very important to let your mind wander, let your mind drift into places which are inaccessible normally. Our subconscious mind holds all the answers. That's where all the magic happens. Our subconscious mind rules our destiny. It is a beautiful place as it is, a dark space. But not all dark is bad. Black hole is a very misunderstood concept. Black hole is a very potent source of creation, for it sucks in a lot of light. However, through some filters, the light is invisible. But the light is still there and it accumulates. And one day it will create that which resonates with the light. In fact, everything is a light. Except for darkness. Darkness is the absence of the particles of light. On the other hand, it could be just an utter concentration of light which are no longer visible to our eye or any instruments of measurement of it. Like the dark space. When we look at the space, it seems dark and cold, right? But it is filled with so much light. The light generated by the stars, the galaxies, in their endless counts. I don't even know how to describe the sheer amount of light that there is out in the space. Yet it appears dark and cold. And I think the key word is appears. It is our perception. All about perception. I'm not going to go into science, and I'm not a scientist naturally, but I'm just contemplating, thinking about things, allowing the nature and the ducks to make my mind wonder, think, and let the nature speak to me. Let inspiration come to me. Inspiration is how divine creates through us. Only by surrendering to the divine and allowing the forces of nature to flow through us and create through us, we become one. That's how masterpieces are created. Be that a painting, a music, dance, poetry, a movie, tapestry, architecture, any form of creation that requires imagination and craft, mastery, even mastery over one's emotions, actually especially mastery of one's emotions. That requires true dedication and devotion to understanding thyself. That is what brings healing. That is what makes a person whole. That is what allows us to accept, forgive, and love again. No one can be forced to accept anything. No one can be forced to forgive. It should come naturally. And it can only come when it is felt. No emotion can be understood, no matter how many times it is said. Only through feeling, through embodying the meaning of each word, does a human enlighten oneself through understanding of the feeling which comes with the word forgiveness or surrender or love or acceptance. Those are all feelings. Those are all emotions. They create sensations in our body and release energy blockages of pent up emotion, energy, which we don't even realize we have very often because it goes into the subconscious. I'll let you enjoy the view for a bit. Good morning. don't want to go too close, not to disturb them. They feel startled, and they may think that I'm here to interrupt their rest. This part of the pond is still quite sleepy. The sun hasn't reached it as much. So peaceful, beautiful. Somebody's jogging, somebody's walking their dogs. Parents play with their toddlers. Beautiful. Adaptability is a great quality to have. And it's all about making peace with what we have and making the best of what is available to us at any given moment in time. Nobody planned a pandemic, nobody knew it was coming, and many found themselves in circumstances beyond their control, right? That being said, many of us felt panic, anxiety caused by the restrictions and changing circumstances. Many suffered losses, human and material. And it is not entirely possible to cover the scale of human suffering when they face sudden change, when they are unprepared. All change brings remake of one's life, one's circumstances, one's mindset. And many are not adaptable. When we look back at Darwin's teachings, I believe that he never said survival of the fittest. If I recall correctly, his actual quote was about adaptability, survival of the most adaptable species. And if we look through evolution, we see the evidence of that time and time again. Therefore, when it's true for other species in the nature, and changes in the nature are just as often and unpredictable as the pandemic human beings experienced, in the last couple of years. Yet the animal kingdom is expected to adapt. Nobody's asking whether it likes it or not. It has no choice. So the humans are invited to look at the deeper meaning of the pandemic, see beyond the suffering it caused, see beyond the losses that it brought with it. Are these losses truly unsurmountable? Or can we indeed see the beauty in the new and open ourselves up to the change which invites us to grow and expand our mind, open our heart. As we open our hearts and allow forgiveness and acceptance to take place, forgiveness for ourselves, for our own choices, decisions, things we did and didn't do, things we took for granted or overlooked, and now it's too late to change. It's all part of life, and everything happens for a reason. Nothing's ever out of place in our experience. Our experiences shape us and help us evolve into the being we were designed to be. Our experiences are what create the memories which we hold for the rest of our lives. And some of those memories may be held on too tightly, and they may not leave room for new ones. It is important to make peace with all our memories and lovingly let go of those which no longer serve us, especially if they come from a dark, lonely, bitter place. The longer we stay in that place, the longer we shut ourselves out from life and what would like to come in and give us the new experiences and new memories to replace the cold and the dark and the lonely. Pandemic has taken many lives and left emptiness in many hearts. And it takes time. Time heals. Time really do heal. by letting go of memories which are painful, we're not betraying the memory of those who are no longer with us. Not at all. We live for them and with them. In fact, this just reminds me a conversation I had with my nephew a few nights ago about life and death. My nephew seems to hold bad memories after passing of his grandparents, my mother and father, a few years back. And he was a little boy back then, but we tried to explain to him what happened in the way that the child of his age could perceive, could understand. But it seems that he still has emotions which surface from time to time, and he comes crying. He comes crying, worried about one of us dying. And I sat down with him and explained to him what is life and what is death, the best I could. What I told him, I said, look, everything we see is energy. You and I are energy. Our physical body too is a form of energy. It's a manifestation of the energy in the physical form. Our physical body is a concentrated form of energy. Everything that surrounds us is energy. The soul is the energy, the essence that lives in our bodies and lights up our being, so to speak. But when the soul is ready to travel to have another experience, it leaves this body and moves on. But it moves on into another shape, into another form. It never dies. Energy cannot die. It transforms. It changes its shape. It changes its form. It's shape-shifting. And to help a child understand the concept of death, life and rebirth and transformation of energy, I gave him an example of the cells in his body dying and being reborn every day. I said, look, even inside you, death and rebirth are taking place every day. You don't even notice it. Your cells die and new ones are being born to replace them. That happens on a daily basis. That is how our bodies regenerate, grow. Yet we don't even notice that. Leaves on the trees. Each autumn they die. each spring they are reborn. That's life and death. That's transformation of energy. The leaves which die in the autumn, they decay, they turn back into soil, and through the soil, through the nutrients in the soil, which they become, that energy that the leaves originally held is then transformed into the life force which the tree uses to grow new leaves. That's how life and death circulate all the time, every day, like day and night, cycles of life. And to my surprise, my nephew suddenly found the subject so interesting that the conversation went on for another couple of hours, well into the early hours of the morning. And I was really happy that he felt at peace and comfortable to actually come and talk to me next time he has an issue, knowing that not only will I understand what he's experiencing, but also have answers for him. We often dismiss child perception of what an adult may think as trivial, as insignificant, easy to understand. Sometimes we also need to make inventory of our memories from childhood. Some of the memories we hold from childhood may not necessarily be true at all. In fact, those are memories which were created in that age, given our limited scope of knowledge and experience, which created those memories. That doesn't make them real. And often, parents have the entirely different memory of a situation which a child may have found traumatic. Yet the parents may not be even aware that the child is holding such trauma in the subconscious, which in fact goes on to shape a person's future. So revisiting our memories from time to time and just taking stock. Was it real? Was it really as I remember? Or why do I actually remember it that way? I'm trying to get to understand the cause behind individual memories will help remove a lot of baggage which was untrue and created false beliefs which held us back in our personal evolution, in our success in life. I remember a memory from when I was about 5 years old. I was looking out of the window with two of my distant relatives. They were kids as well, but they were elder, slightly elder than me. And there was a tree on the horizon with a black figure, what looked like somebody sitting on the branch, and it almost resembled like a human being wearing a dark clock. And funny enough, this kid started teasing me, saying that it was a witch and it was sitting on that branch waiting to come after me. And given that I was afraid of dark at that point, and I naturally feared death, and I had watched some horror movies, sadly, which also left some imprints in my fragile mind. I actually got so frightened of that. I genuinely believed what he was saying, and I thought that that witch was going to come after me and take me away. And I somehow I had a fear of witches from that day on. I had a fear of dark clothes, color black. It's really bizarre. It's really weird how we as children make up these things. We make associations from fairy tales and scary movies we come across, and then they create memories which appear real, but fear, false experience appearing real, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. And later, as I grew up and realized what a witch was, in fact, I am a witch, which means a wise one, a wise woman, a knowledgeable woman. A witch comes from the Dark Ages, when very little people have been educated. So anyone who had knowledge could read and especially cook potions and elixirs and heal people. Naturally they were witches, and naturally they held unexplainable knowledge which could be dangerous to some people, of course, if it shed light on the darkness in the Dark Ages. That was dangerous. So anyway, that's just one example of how silly memories are formed, which create other associations in our mind, in our subconscious mind, as we're children. And then we grow up without even realizing that we're holding these silly things which cause all sorts of responses and behavioral patterns. This is just scratching the surface naturally. There's a slight breeze, and see how the water changes its surface. It's gorgeous. How the light dances on the surface of the water. How beautiful. Nature is a miraculous creation. In fact, nature is the epitome of creator. Everything in the nature is in perfect balance and one with the God, with a higher consciousness. Every animal knows exactly what to do, when to do, how to do, why to do. They don't even ask, they just do it. they intuitively do it. They feel the higher consciousness. They don't question it, they just feel it and allow it to and the life to flow. But unlike animals, human being has a creative potential thanks to its mental abilities, and that is a force which can be as divine as it can be evil, depending on the use and application of the mental capacity. And not only the mental capacity of the knowledge we hold. Knowledge is power, and depending how it is applied, we create good or bad in the world. And it starts with our lives. Depending on how we treat ourselves, we're likely to go on treating others. And that brings me to another topic. About the ego. During the pandemic, I've spent much time contemplating about ego, what it is, how it is, why it is. Knowing thyself is a great experience. Nothing can replace it. Can you hear the airplane? And it's right in the middle of a city that there is this oasis of life where even the sound of airplane doesn't seem as troublesome. I'm so glad I've been able to actually come down here this morning and share this gorgeous view with you. Hopefully my contemplations were also helpful to alleviate any concerns, worries, grief maybe even. I know all about grief. I've been there, I've done it. But it is important to honor all our feelings. Honoring doesn't only mean recognizing how we feel. It is very important to also let the emotions out in an appropriate outlet. When I say appropriate, the venom that we hold, often without realizing, because it is at the bottom of the pond or the bottom of the river, it can be dangerous to people around us, for it is a form of energy when we expel it. And it is important to try and find the appropriate outlet. I call it also transmutation, to transmute that energy in such a way that it would cause least damage to ourselves and others. When we expel a negative energy, it is out there on the loose. And I take responsibility for things I've said in anger, in upset. It is very difficult to control when we feel hurt, disappointed, angry, and we feel that we no longer have the capacity to hold down those emotions. And then we utter something that we cannot take back. A word said can cut deeper than a knife, for it holds the energy of the emotion that is attached to it. And it doesn't help me understanding this. I've done it too. I'm not a saint. In fact, by holding back the emotions and trying to transmute and not let it all out just the way I feel it, makes it even worse, because when I can no longer hold back, it comes out even more devastating. That is why I'm mindful and always looking for ways of expressing unwanted energies in ways to transmute them into something more positive. If we all take care of being more mindful of what we say and how we say it, irrespective of who that is addressed to, ourselves or others. In fact, there are no enemies. It's a myth. I'll talk about it in another blog. So the more mindful we are about how we communicate with ourselves and the world around us, the more peace and love and miracles we create. What we give out is what comes back. The energy we share and the energy we project is what we receive back. If we are angry and in victim mode, we almost invite trouble. We are in self-destructive mode. We cause problems for ourselves and those around us. A better way to transmute that energy is take up a challenge. Martial arts, boxing, jogging, cycling, anything that involves physical activity, and let the body transmute that energy into something positive. That is the best way to transmute energies. We find negative or destructive. And as a result, we see a whole new world open up as we allow ourselves to go through those challenges and transform ourselves in a process. I'm wishing you a beautiful day ahead. I'm leaving you with the rays of light, the sparkles or specks of light on the water. Enjoy the dance and the sounds of ducks. Have a peaceful day. I'm sending you some sunshine while we have it here. And wait for the sun to shine in your hearts. Let it shine in your soul. Let it shine in your mind. Life is beautiful, and so are you. Be well, love and light. Namaste.